All right, this is episode 31 of the Battle of Ohio podcast. The 2020 season is now officially in the books, and we have a Super Bowl champion, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady. So it's time to wrap up the season and start moving forward. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the coming off season, but we're mostly going to put a focus on Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski winning Coach of the Year and give out
Yep.
our own awards for each team. You know who didn't win Coach of the Year was Mike Tomlin. You know why, Thomas?
Because the Steelers still suck.
Because the Steelers still suck.
Welcome to the Battle of Ohio podcast, where we follow the revival of the historic rivalry between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns.
Roll it.
You know, I look forward to saying that. Best intro ever. 31 times and still haven't got old.
Yeah.
I can't wait till we do it. I can't wait till we do it.
I think I was kind of like the very first episode was really fun to say, and then like the next like 5 or 6 episodes, it was just kind of like, are we doing too much? And but just no, it's grown on me now. The Steelers
Nah,
still.
like it's just us. It's just our thing. Like, you know.
I mean, that's the thing. We're bringing you us. We're not bringing you some like product. You know, if you don't like it, you can suck my dick because I don't get paid for this anyway.
And we all got players that we don't like. Like, you know, I mean, Carson Wentz.
Hey. I don't dislike I don't have a problem with Carson Wentz. I just don't think he's any good.
Yeah, me neither. I wouldn't say I have a problem with him. I just don't like him.
So, what are you drinking today, Tom?
What am I drinking today?
Yeah.
Today I did have a very good beer lined up for y'all, but don't ask how I lost the beer, but I lost the beer. And I'm on a time crunch, so I just had to grab my Bud Light Orange.
Oh, okay.
All reliable.
All reliable. So
It seems fitting. I had a really good lemon beer and everything. It was great. Maybe before Thursday.
in honor of the Super Bowl, we'll call Bud Light in honor of Tom Brady. I've got the thing kind of read Troggs, I think, independent brewery. It's called Dreamweaver. So maybe that works for Tom Brady. I think it maybe works a little bit more for Patrick Mahomes because I don't think Tom Brady has too many dreams left. I think he's already accomplished everything that you can really accomplish.
I mean, like, why would you want to sleep when you won 7 championships? Like that is your dream.
I don't know, but I mean, he's still going. He wants more championships, and I get more power to him. But I don't know. Like I said, I've been thinking. Like I said in the predictions recap, I've been thinking for years, man. If he can just get to number 7, that would be. If he can just get to 7 Super Bowls for my whole life following his career, I'm like, if he can just get to 7 Super Bowls, that'd be so cool. Now that he's at 7, it's just kind of like, I don't really care if he wins anymore. Like if he does, whatever. But I just wanted to see him get more Super Bowls in the entire Steelers franchise, and that was funny. You know why, Thomas?
Because it still suck.
The Steelers still suck. All right. All right. So let's go ahead and get talking about what we came here to talk about, which is the Bengals and Browns first. And this is relatively I'm going to go ahead and say this first because it doesn't really go along with the theme of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just wanted to point out that Shaq Barrett was a big cog in the machine for why the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won that Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
And I am so Shaq Barrett just won the Super Bowl, and the Bengals have no pass rush, and boy, does that feel bad. Because I don't remember. Have I mentioned this on the podcast before? I think I might have mentioned this once before, like maybe the last episode or maybe the episode before that. But the Bengals almost signed him. They had a contract ready for him, ready to go, and he was 100% on board, ready to be like, he said he had all his eggs in the Cincinnati basket. And he was like totally like, oh, Cincinnati, I can't wait to go to Cincinnati. And this was right after he left Denver, right? And then suddenly the Bengals doctors found a shoulder injury, and he's like, "What shoulder injury are you talking about?" I mean, he denies knowing of any shoulder injury, and honestly, the way he's been playing since this diagnosis, I think the Bengals medical staff might be full of shit. But anyway, point being that I can kind of understand where they're coming from, because if they think they found a shoulder, it's probably just a coffee stain on the MRI. That's probably what happened. But I mean,
so they thought that he had a shoulder.
I understand because of what happened with Geno Atkins and his shoulder injury and how he really just hasn't been the same since. But it's just, for fans, it's just another example of what could have been, especially after you're seeing this guy go out and just give Patrick Mahomes, of all people, hell. No, I'm thinking bringing in Marion Hobby, getting DJ Reader back. Maybe we can bring Mike Daniels back too. Maybe go get like Matt. Maybe we could get another crack at Shaq Barrett in free agency. If not, maybe go get Matt Judon, take him away from the Ravens. Or I really like Hamilcar Rashed, I think, from Oregon State in the second round, or Carlos Basham in the third round. I mean, there's a lot of options we can go to really turn this pass rush around.
Yeah. First of all, for his sake, congratulations for him for picking Tampa Bay over Cincinnati, because I don't think
it worked out.
Excuse me, I don't think that he could have made that much of a difference after Joe Burrow went down. I think that broken leg broke our season. But
him plus Carl Lawson, I think that would have combined for a pretty decent pass.
Oh, I'm not saying, I ain't saying y'all when I needed him. I just think I would have won Super Bowl with him.
Yeah, won that, yeah.
So yeah, but I think that I mean, like, what can you say? He made the right decision. Good for him. You go, Shaq.
I mean, I think he made the right decision, but I might be a wee bit biased.
I mean, he got a Super Bowl ring at the end of the day. At the end of the day, he got the ring.
Right. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the more interesting topic of the day, and that's Kevin Stefanski winning Coach of the Year.
Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah, I'm going to let you talk about this, because this is the Browns, and this is your big thing. But I just want to point out real quick one thing, that who the hell else are you going to give it to? I looked up a NFL.com article that was talking about Coach of the Year candidates from like 4 or 5 weeks ago, and you know who the candidates were? You had Ron Rivera, whose team finished with a losing record. You had Brian Flores, whose team missed the playoffs. You had Matt LaFleur, who has Aaron Rodgers and just like an insane Packers team. I think Matt LaFleur did a pretty good job, but I think what Kevin Stefanski did with the Cleveland fucking Browns is more impressive. Andy Reid, same thing. I think what Kevin Stefanski did was more impressive, especially since the Chiefs didn't win the Super Bowl. Mike Tomlin, again, the Steelers collapsed after 11 and Kevin Stefanski beat him. So Joe Judge, who couldn't even win the NFC East. And then there was Sean McDermott, who I thought Sean McDermott was like the next best option. But even then, I still feel like taking the Browns from just like 2 decades of like awful mediocrity and like just being awful consistently, going from that to like making the playoffs and winning a playoff game, I think is more impressive than turning Josh Allen around. Which turning Josh Allen around was pretty great. That's why I said I think Sean McDermott's a solid number 2, but I think Kevin Stefanski was more impressive than that.
I think Dan, the reason why I think that Kevin Stefanski deserves this award is because this is literally the same exact roster from last year, plus like a couple of offensive linemen.
Also, for the most part, minus your supposed.
But even still, Kevin Stefanski got an impact on that. Yeah, not only that, I think the defense was better last year than it was this year. I think the defense was way better last year than it was talent-wise. Yeah, I mean, we had safeties last year. So like, yeah, no, I mean, this guy just basically took the same exact roster, maybe a little bit worse from last year, and flipped it upside down, turned him into a winning team. Like, I mean, like, how can you hate on this guy? Like, this dude is a freaking evil genius or a wizard. Like, this man, he done everything he needs to do. He's been really smart, a great play caller. Man, I can't hate on this man. I can't hate on this man at all. I think the biggest thing though that I like about Kevin Stefanski from my observance of watching him coach, and I always say this: last year when I used to go to the games, I used to see Freddie Kitchens coach. Him and Baker Mayfield were always getting arguments on the sideline. It was always a moment. They like every drive, you could see that Freddie Kitchens was like one of the boys more than just like the coach. He didn't demand respect. He said he demanded respect, but he didn't. Players didn't respect him. He wasn't a competent play caller. He wasn't consistent. He done so many things wrong. He just wasn't a good coach. He was a good dude, but he wasn't a good coach. But Kevin Stefanski, he's so organized. Nothing fazed him. He has a good pulse in the locker room. Everybody has a great attitude around him. He makes sure that people stay focused on the things they need to focus on. He's only 37?
Well,
man.
The big thing that I felt like, because I mean, I said it again, this was before we started the podcast, but I mean, if you go look at like, my Facebook feed and whatever, and a lot of people who are currently watching this podcast probably know me personally. So they'll know that I'm, been consistently a gigantic Browns hater for a very large segment of my life. But I'll be honest, when I heard that the Browns were, because like I was convinced that the Browns were going to go try to hire Mike McCarthy, and I was like, yes, please God, please go get Mike McCarthy.
I thought they were going to get McDaniels. I would
have been cool with McDaniels too, but like at first when they said they're hiring Kevin Stefanski, my first thought was, who the fuck is that? I don't know who that is. This is probably hilarious. Let me look up this guy's background and see just how hilarious of a hire this is. And as I'm researching him, I'm like, oh man, he's a Mike Zimmer protege. He's got his head on his shoulders. He's got a really good resume. This might be a really good hire. Shit. Damn it. And yeah, it was an insanely good hire by the Browns. Yeah. And I knew as soon as I did the research, I knew it. I was like, oh man, people are gonna like tear the Browns up for this hire because duh. But ultimately, they're gonna be wrong because this is a really low key hire that people aren't really paying attention to, and this guy is really smart. He's really good, and he's got a level head, which the Browns really that was the biggest thing about Freddie Kitchens. I feel like he fed too much into like the like the soap opera portion of all of it. It's like the Browns wanted to be the team with the swagger, right? But when all you have is swagger and you don't have any ability to stay level and like swagger's cool, but you have to carry swagger with a certain level of control. And that was the thing about Freddie Kitchens, is he just had no control. And that's the thing about the Browns for years. They have had plenty of instances of bringing in big names with swagger, but they just have no idea how to control them. And that was the thing about Kevin Stefanski that I was worried about, is that he's going to be really good at controlling them, like anything the Browns do. And lo and behold, he was.
I realized that Kevin Stefanski was a good coach. Excuse me. Along with that Dallas game. That was week 4, right? Yeah. I realized that game that he was a good coach. Because I remember just sitting there watching that game and going like, man, that's a really good play call. Okay. Hey, man, that's another really good play call. Okay. But man, that's another really good play call. I'm like, okay. And then that run by Odell Beckham, like, man, that was just such a great play. Like nobody seen that coming. And that state where Odell comes across the middle, man, and he runs it. too. I thought he was going to throw it at first. I thought he was going to get like a flea figure. I was like, oh, he's about to throw it. And then he runs it, and then he makes that cut. Oh, Odell Beckham that cut was cold. I'm not going to forget where I was at when he made that cut. Section 226. But but no, like the play calling that game was just so excellent. And it was just so consistent, and it was just so good, and there was just a flow to our offense. And he kept Baker in rhythm, and he kept Hunt in rhythm, and Odell in rhythm. Like, nah, dude, I phenomenally love this coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
phenomenally.
Phenomenally. He did an amazing job, and that's like I said. There was nobody else I could think of who was more. I mean, obviously more deserving, but no other coach I can think of that even came close to the impressiveness that. I mean, maybe you could say like Bruce Arians, what he was able to like help do to turn the Tampa Bay Buccaneers around over the course of like the last whatever. I think Bruce Arians, deserves some credit, but you don't necessarily know that before they win the Super Bowl. And these awards are finished before the Super Bowl, right? Like the voting for the awards is finished before the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you can't necessarily know.
I'm not sure when the voting's done. I know in baseball and basketball the voting's done before the regular season.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's all.
I don't know what it is in the NFL.
Finalized before the Super Bowl is completed. So.
Oh yeah, definitely before the Super Bowl. Yeah.
It was with how up and down the Buccaneers kind of were this year, and the amount of talent that they had on their team. The fact that they only went 11-5 and were a wild card team and stuff like that, you could definitely make the argument that Bruce Arians was maybe not as deserving of that. You could maybe make the argument that Bruce Arians wasn't as deserving as a lot of other coaches, but at the same time, like when you're really looking at who the other coaching candidates were for this award, personally, I just don't see how anybody comes close to Kevin Stefanski. And like I said, I think Bruce Arians, now that we know what happened in the playoffs and the Super Bowl, I think he might be up there. But outside of that little technicality, that wouldn't have necessarily been something that you can consider before the Super Bowl started and when you were doing the voting. It's just like there's literally nobody else. Nobody, like Kevin Stefanski was the only coach this year, I feel, that put together an almost undeniably solid performance like that.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree. 120,000% agree with that statement. Kevin Stefanski is a genius.
Yep. I hate to say it, but Kevin Stefanski is, if not a genius, he's something. He's definitely something. And I hate to say it because my team is going to have to deal with him for a long time. And
hey man, I got Joe Burrow.
Well, yeah, no, I think the Bengals are building something good, and I think Zach Taylor is going to end up being if the Bengals actually pop off the way they're supposed to the way I think that they can, the way that the way that their young talent says if they put the right pieces in place, the way they should be able to pop off next year. If they can do that, then Zach Taylor will be the unquestioned coach of the year next year. We'll be having this exact same conversation about Kevin Stefanski, except we'll be having it about Zach Taylor. The only differences will be why did it take so long to show how talented he was? But
because he had talent around.
As long as it happens at some point, I don't care that it took us a couple of years to get there, because I was kind of figuring it would take a little while to get back to form anyway.
Oh yeah,
but I digress.
I mean, Kevin Stefanski. The thing is though, Kevin Stefanski did take over a team that had a lot of talent. And the problem last year, Kevin Stefanski literally proved to everybody the problem last year wasn't the talent, it was the coaching. We were like, oh, this talent can't work. I'm like, no.
But that's actually not a bad time to kind of cut out, though, because that's probably a good time to go ahead and transition to our next segment, because I think we did a good job of really kind of showing why it's obvious that Kevin Stefanski is coach of the year. Not only did he do an amazing job with the Browns, but at the same time, like, who the hell else are you gonna, give it to? In my opinion, Kevin Stefanski is the only deserving coach for that award this year.
Yeah, I agree.
But anyway, let's go ahead and move on to our end of the year awards for the Bengals and Browns. Now, as a fan of a team that won 4 damn games this year, I don't really feel that much like giving out awards because it doesn't feel like anybody deserves any damn awards for my damn team. But we're going to do it anyway because, otherwise, why would we? What's the point of having a podcast? So we're going to start out with an award that we usually give out every week. It's kind of a thing that we do. It's not really based on anything that anybody else does, but it's called the Underrated Player, normally the Underrated Player of the Week award, but this week we're doing the Underrated Player of the Year award. So, Thomas, who do you think on the Cleveland Browns deserves the Underrated Player of the Year award? A player who played much better than a lot of people give him credit for.
That award goes to Rodney Harris. The Browns have traded for Rodney Harris very early in the season. I believe they traded for him before the season started, like right before the season started. And he didn't play the first couple of weeks because he was trying to learn the defense and everything. And that guy, man, Rodney Harris is actually really good. He's actually really freaking good. And I was watching some plays on him, like how he crashed the line, he does a great job of crashing the line. He does a great job of communicating with the defense. He's going to be a good piece in our defense along with Denzel Ward. Rodney Harris, man, we are so blessed to have him on this team. I'm looking forward to how the Browns use him going forward. So yeah, Rodney Harris is my underrated player of the year.
Right. So Ronnie Harrison, of course, the Brown strong safety who they just picked up in the offseason from Jacksonville, started. Would have thought he would have started more than that. Started 7 games out of the 16 this year, so technically less than half. Did score an interception, returned it for a touchdown. Defensed 7 passes this year, recovered a fumble, and got himself a sack. 38 combined tackles this year. So doing a pretty good job of coming in relief and really doing a lot more than I think. A lot of people give him credit for, but B, then a lot of people really expected out of him. I don't think anybody really expected him to make as much of an impact as he really did.
Yeah.
Which, wasn't like, I wouldn't say he was like the Browns MVP or anything, but
no.
But I mean, it definitely as a rotational player, somebody who came in and could really.
Oh, he did really good in that Steelers game. He did really freaking good in that Steelers game.
Yep. Did we lose you
that
again?
Steelers game? The part. What?
Your internet's still acting wonky.
Oh, fun. That's real fun. Thank you, internet. Let me see.
So what happened in the Steelers game?
That's connected. He did. Anyway, he had a really good game against Steelers in the AFC wild card. He had a really good game against Steelers in the AFC wild card. He did a great job stopping the run. He had a really good hit on James Conner. His defense was great in the secondary, where he did a great job of covering the corners like Claypool and Juju. Juju, you trash. But yeah, I don't know. I think that he's only gonna get better. He's really young. I think that he's gonna be a really good piece for our secondary.
Fair enough. So for the Bengals, my underrated player of the year is going to be the man, the myth, the Allen, Brandon Allen.
Brandon Allen.
Brandon Allen. Maybe not entirely super underrated because I think he does get a lot of recognition for the things he did do. But I mean, don't forget that this guy's our backup quarterback. This is the guy who's like literally in an ideal situation, never supposed to see the field. You're not supposed to even know who he is beyond like maybe a bunch of football nerds like analyzing the roster. But like you're not supposed to know anything about this guy. He's not supposed to be anything good. Hell, he was supposed to be like he wasn't even supposed to be on the team this year. It was supposed to be Ryan Finley's the backup. We had Jake Dolagala, who was like the camp competition and maybe like the guy we could bring back if we absolutely had to. But because of the COVID rules and everything like that, Brandon Allen got a chance to come on as kind of like our emergency COVID quarterback, and Ryan Finley ended up playing really poorly throughout most of the time that he was filling in for Joe Burrow, and Brandon Allen comes in and the team's playing relatively well around him, so he gets to keep the job, and he's playing pretty well. Now, I mean, the only game he really did all that well in was the Houston Texans game. He threw 371 yards and 2 touchdowns. It was really, really incredible game for some guy who, like I said, you're not even supposed to know who he is. But I mean, outside of that, it's like, it was like he, against the Giants, he threw for 136 yards. Against the Dolphins, he threw for 153 yards. In both games, he threw 1 touchdown and 1 interception. In fact, actually, in the Giants game, he also lost a fumble. So that first game, honestly, like the Bengals were competitive, and I think that's what allowed the Bengals to give him a second chance, especially with how badly Ryan Finley was looking that week. That year, what am I thinking? That period of time, Ryan Finley was looking really bad. So it's like, Brandon Allen comes in, doesn't play that well, but the Bengals are competitive, have a chance to win that game, end up not winning that game, but they're like, hey, this Brandon Allen guy, he looked pretty good. Let's give him the chance that he seems like he deserves. And it paid off because he started playing better and better every single week. Came in against Miami, made one mistake with the interception that he threw, but he still had the team. We only lost by 12 to a team that at the time was looking like, a team that was supercharging its way to a playoff berth. And then there was the egg that the Bengals laid against the Dallas Cowboys. That was terrible. But that was honestly a lot to do with the defense being awful. And it's like Brandon Allen didn't do much, but he also didn't do really badly. He didn't get sacked the whole game, which I think might have been the first time Bengals quarterback hadn't been sacked all year. And he threw for 217 yards and a touchdown. So it's like Brandon Allen was not the reason why the Bengals lost so badly to the Dallas Cowboys in week 14. But, they lost and it didn't look so good. But then they come back in week 16 and dude just goes off. I mean, like I said, 371 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Houston Texans. Now the Houston Texans were not a big team like, oh, we beat the big bad Houston Texans. No, the Houston Texans were pretty trash this year. But once again, the fact that Brandon Allen was not supposed to be anything and came out and did a pretty good job of filling in for Joe Burrow, who, obviously we're going to talk about with one of the awards later. But got to give it up to Brandon Allen. Let's move on to our next award, though. The offensive MVP. So who was the best offensive player for the Browns, Thomas?
This is tough because you can go so many different ways in this one.
Mm-hmm.
I can literally pick 4 players. But I'm not for this award. If I want to say Chubb. Realistically, it comes down to 2 players, Chubb or Mayfield. I think Kareem Hunt is a close third, and then Jarvis would be 4th.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kareem Hunt is a very close third. In fact, you could argue that Kareem Hunt was the best because Kareem Hunt had I can't remember. They did numbers. Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb both had over 1,000 all-purpose yards. Both of them, and both of them are very valuable. Kareem Hunt had so many touchdowns this year. He had a lot of touchdowns this year. He did a great job. I don't have the stats in front of me. But Kareem Hunt did a terrific job. He is deserving to win this award, but it either got to go to Baker Mayfield or Chubb. And the only reason I'm hesitant to give it to Chubb because Chubb was injured and for a good portion of the season, for about 4 games. Baker Mayfield on the field the entire season, and we won games without Chubb. With that said, I'm going to have to give it to Baker Mayfield. Now, I love Chubb. I think Chubb's a phenomenal player. I think you can make a great argument that Chubb deserves to be the Offensive Player of the Year. The reason why I got to give Baker is because of 2 games in Pacific. The Tennessee game and the Cincinnati game. The Tennessee game, Baker Mayfield won because of his arm. The Cincinnati game, Baker Mayfield won because of his arm. The fact that Baker Mayfield didn't miss a pass. He didn't miss a pass in the Cincinnati Bengals game. He didn't miss a single pass that entire game after the first 5 throws, right? He missed the first 5 throws, and he went 22 of 22. Just insane. And it capped it all off, a game-winning touchdown. Like, what Baker Mayfield did that game was just insane. And you put in perspective, we only made the playoffs by 1 game.
Mm-hmm.
We only made the playoffs by 1 game. We lose that game, we're not in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So with that said, I gotta give it to Baker, man. I gotta give it to Baker because that touchdown to Donovan Peoples-Jones, that's gonna be in my head for the rest of my life. Man, he threw that right in the perfect corner too. It gotta be Baker. With that said, Chubb is great though. Chubb is insane. I'm not taking credit from that man at all. Chubb is insane. That guy. I have a man pressure on that
trash.
guy. What?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I respect the hell out of Baker Mayfield, but I'm also not gonna lie in saying that he didn't piss me right the hell off in that game where we had a legit chance to beat you guys and start turning our season around.
Dude, freaking Burrow had amazing. That's why I keep on telling people that was the best quarterback performance I have ever seen in my life. Because Joe Burrow, that fourth quarter, man, they had 4 touchdowns in that fourth quarter, 5 touchdowns in that fourth quarter, like the first NFL game. There was 5. Every single drive ended in a touchdown in the fourth quarter. Every single drive, but the very last drive where the Bengals had the ball and they only had like 10 seconds left on the clock. But the only drive they didn't end in a touchdown in the fourth quarter. That fourth quarter was nuts. Man. Like both of them were just throwing dimes that whole game. That game was nuts. That game was insane.
Yeah, it was only 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
It was only 2?
Well, 2. It was 5 between both teams.
Yeah, that's what I meant. What I meant.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was like one of the most touchdowns in the fourth. Something crazy like that. I don't know. It was something crazy, but no. I just remember 5 touchdowns being in the fourth quarter. That's all I remember. I just remember there being a lot of offense in that fourth quarter because that fourth quarter was nuts.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember like getting super excited and then wanting to ram my head into a wall and then getting super excited and then wanting to jump off a cliff.
I'm telling y'all that game, it's right now, as we speak right now, people aren't going to think that much about that game. But as Baker Mayfield and Joe Burrow play each other, as their rivalry against each other grows over the year, they're going to go back to that game. Watch.
It's definitely going to be,
back to that
fun
game.
Rivalry for a while to come, I think.
Oh, my God. I cannot wait.
But
I cannot wait.
As far as the Bengals offensive MVP goes, I am not going to give it to Joe Burrow.
Okay.
Because I'm going to give it to T. Higgins.
Yes. I am so happy you said that.
Well, the reason I'm not giving it to Joe Burrow is because, and this is of no fault of his own, but I mean, when you go down like in the middle of when you go down and you get hurt and you can't play for the rest of the season, when the playoffs are still, I mean, a floating ethereal concept, but still a genuine possibility. just because of that final playoff seed and everything like that. Now, it would have taken a miraculous comeback over the season, but I'm not going to shit all over Joe Burrow for getting hurt. That's not the point of what I'm trying to do here. What I am trying to do here is point out that I don't know if you can be the most valuable player on an entire unit when you go down. And I mean, just to be completely frank with you, the Bengals were just as good without him. Like from a win-loss perspective, we when Joe Burrow was in the games, I mean, it was a little bit different. We won 2 games with him and 2 games without him. And that had nothing to do with Joe Burrow. Honestly, that had a lot to do with the team kind of coming together finally. When just imagine what they could have done with Joe Burrow in those games, and you could kind of see it in the way that they were playing against the Washington football team. They ended up losing that game, but if Joe Burrow hadn't gotten hurt, I guarantee you they would have won that game. And then they probably would have beaten New York the way they played against New York. They might have beaten the Dolphins. Hell, maybe they didn't put up such a pathetic offensive performance against the Cowboys. They might have beaten the Cowboys. They beat the Steelers. They beat the Texans. And then that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a 6-game win streak. That flips our record from what we ended up with, which was like, was it 4-11-1? I think we finished with.
Yeah.
And so you change Joe Burrow just existing, and that run at the end of the season takes us from 4-11-1 to 8-7-1, and that's potential playoff berth. I don't think it would have been a playoff berth based on what actually did happen, but also if Joe Burrow is out there winning games, and maybe things go a little bit differently in the rest of the AFC. I don't know, but then again, you've also got Baltimore there at the end, so maybe they play Baltimore a little bit differently. I don't know. But anyway, the reason I'm giving it to T. Higgins is because like nobody affected the offense the way T. Higgins did this year, especially in the absence of AJ Green being this big, massive guy who eats up all the targets and just like frustrates opposing defenses to no end. And it's really fun to watch the Bengals offense when AJ Green is going off, but AJ Green just didn't do that for the most part this year. And T. Higgins really kind of stepped into that role. And I still don't know if I entirely think that T. Higgins is like the uncontested number 1 receiver going forward. But I definitely think out of all the players on the team right now, he's the number 1 receiver. So, I mean, like, let's say we go get Jamar Chase with the number 5 pick in the draft. Well, then I don't think T. Higgins is going to be the number 1 receiver after that. But I do think that T. Higgins, you put like Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd in the same receiving core, and you got Joe Burrow throwing them the ball, watch the hell out, especially if we put an offensive line around them.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, T. Higgins, man, he nearly broke Chris Collinsworth's rookie touchdown record. He actually had he was 1 touchdown away. He had 7 touchdowns on the year, one of which was a rushing touchdown. But still 7 total touchdowns. Chris Collinsworth had 8. So that would have that was one of the best rookie performances we've ever seen out of a wide receiver in Bengals history throughout the course of the year. And the thing about T. Higgins was he didn't drop off when Joe Burrow went down. I was worried about that when Joe Burrow went down. I'm like, oh man, this is going to really hurt T. Higgins' rest of his rookie campaign, isn't it? And no, he just immediately developed chemistry with Brandon Allen and was just as effective after Joe Burrow went out.
I think if T. Higgins is like, I don't know if any of y'all had a chance to see T. Higgins play in person yet. One thing I love about going to NFL games in person, and this is what y'all should look out for. I guess enjoy what you want when you go to NFL game. But one thing I do want to go to NFL games in person is when you watch the game on TV, it's set on like the quarterback and the ball. But when you go there in person, you're able to watch certain players. You just hone in on one player. And if anybody who watches podcast was able to see T. Higgins play in person, he is such a clean route runner. Like he is such a clean route runner, and unless you played football, I guess if you didn't play football, you understand the importance of route running. And like, it just feels like, I don't know the routes, but you could tell when somebody run the route the right way.
Right.
Because it's just they kind of look like robots. They're very smooth. He's so smooth with it. He's quick. He gets to his spot early. He is very precise. It just always feels like he's in the right spot. It just always feels like he's in the right spot. And when somebody's always in the right spot, that means they're a good route runner. It reminds me a lot of Jarvis. He have a lot of Jarvis Landry in him, the way he runs routes. He's probably a little more explosive and like, man, and y'all might not think Jarvis Landry is a great Jarvis Landry is a hell of a receiver. And T. Higgins, man, that's who he catches everything. He catches everything. Like I know Claypool's been getting all the attention for rookie receivers this year. I think T. Higgins is right up there with him, man. T. Higgins, man, he's gonna be special. He's gonna be special. I like him a lot.
So
he's gonna be special.
Who is the Browns' defensive MVP?
I want to say Myles Garrett. I really, really want to say Myles Garrett, but I mean, like, our defense starts and ends at Myles Garrett. He had a good second. His first half of the season, Myles Garrett was great first half of the season. Myles Garrett was excellent first half of the season. Very unblockable. And then when he got COVID, he kind of tailed off a little bit. The other person that I'm fighting with is Denzel Ward. Denzel Ward, the way that Denzel Ward was single-handedly stop drives sometimes. So Denzel Ward deserves a lot of credit there. But even with all that said, I still gotta go with Myles Garrett actually, because even still, Myles Garrett still made so many great impacts on that defensive line where they had to double block him and stuff, and a lot of people like Olivia Vernon to get loose, or that's another person who deserves a lot of credit, Olivia Vernon this year. Olivia Vernon had a better year this year than he did last year. The shout out to him, but Myles Garrett deserves that award actually. I know Denzel Ward is just a phenomenal defender. Denzel Ward is just a phenomenal defender, phenomenal cornerback. But when I look at it, they both had injuries. One got sick, the other one got hurt. They both had inconsistent performances, but just nobody affects the game like Myles Garrett does. Just nobody does. That dude, Myles Garrett, is just a monster. He could, and it's just one of those players that you don't worry about till you see him and you're like, man, whoa, this guy is killing us. So I gotta say Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett this year.
Because that's easy to say. Because
he played in 14 games, only missed 2.
Because of COVID.
Forced 4 fumbles, recovered 2 of them, and probably the most impressive stat line, recorded 12 sacks. Only, let's see, T.J. Watt, Trey Hendrickson, Aaron Donald, Yannick Ngakoue, Zadarius Smith, and Hassan Reddick recorded more sacks this year than Myles Garrett. And on that note, Zadarius Smith and Hassan Reddick both have 12.5 sacks. So only really due to due to technicality did they have more sacks than Myles Garrett.
And there's also no worry that Myles Garrett was fighting COVID. He was coming back from COVID. So
that's the thing too. I'm not even seeing here how many of those guys played all 16 games, or if any of them missed more than 2 games. I don't know. I would have to look into that a little bit more in depth. But that is something to remember, that Myles Garrett, despite not playing all 16 games, is still the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th best sack artist in the NFL this year. T.J. Watt, with the most sacks, only had 3 more sacks than Myles Garrett this year, for what that's worth. But so defensive MVP for the Bengals should be nobody, because that was trash. That whole defense was trash, and nobody should feel good about what they put on display this year. However, I am forced to give somebody the award because I don't have much of a choice on that one. So I'm going to give it to Jesse Bates.
Okay, okay.
Bengals safety, who should be an all-pro safety, got snubbed for that. Not terribly thrilled, but that's what happens when you play for a terrible team. But man, Jesse Bates this year with the he picked the ball off 3 times. Should have had more. If he had actually completed a lot more of those interceptions, first of all, we would have won more games. Second of all, he would be, he would not have been snubbed for an all pro if he had actually completed as many of the interceptions as he got his hands on. But he also forced a fumble. He defensed 15 passes this year. Started all 16 games, 78 tackles, 78 solo tackles, 109 combined tackles. And he even got a quarterback hit in there. 2 tackles for loss. So, I mean, man, Jesse Bates, this defense was just so piss poor, at least as far as across the board goes, for the most part this year. A big reason why we didn't win more games this year was because our defense just, fell flat when we needed them. They only really seemed to perform up to snuff when the offense wasn't doing so well. So it was kind of stupid. But man, Jesse Bates just we have him under contract for 1 more year, so we don't have to worry about that too much for next year. We'll definitely have him next year, but I'm kind of hoping that they come up with a new contract for Jesse Bates before next year, because if they let him play next year, this dude's about to go off, and he's about to be worth more than we can probably afford to pay him.
So you want to sign him early before he takes off?
I would love to sign him early. I don't know if it's going to happen because the Bengals haven't been doing that with guys for a little while now, especially big defensive stars. But I would love to see him get, lock him up as soon as possible, because there is not a single player more important to defensive success right now than Jesse Bates. And you can maybe argue Carl Lawson, because Carl Lawson is the only pass rusher on the Bengals who's worth half a shit. But I don't think pound for pound he's as good as Jesse Bates is at just doing the thing, So, I mean, without hesitation, I got to give the defensive MVP to Jesse Bates.
Okay.
So, last 2 awards are the rookies of the year for offense and defense. So, who's the Browns' offensive rookie of the year, Thomas?
The Browns' offensive rookie of the year. Well, there's the 2 people coming to mind are Donovan Peoples-Jones. I mentioned Donovan Peoples-Jones' name when he completed that touchdown catch from Baker Mayfield in the big Bengals game, and Harrison Bryant, the tight end. And I'm gonna go Peoples-Jones over Harrison Bryant. Not because I don't like Harrison Bryant, because I like Harrison Bryant a lot. I think Harrison Bryant is excellent. I think that he works very well with Hooper and Njoku, and that tight end room is very excellent. Here in Cleveland, we're very happy to have that. We're very blessed to have a great tight end room that we have. But with that said, though, Donovan Peoples-Jones, he was put in a position where he had to step up after Odell Beckham went down, and he did. He did immediately. That kid is fast. I remember the Tennessee game. He dropped the pass. Could have been a touchdown. Baker says, man's there, came back, blew past the defender, got a 50-yard touchdown. That kid's going to be special. I like him a lot. He's going to ultimately be the reason why the Browns trade Odell Beckham out of Cleveland, because I think that we haven't even seen his best potential. I think that Donovan Peoples-Jones that dude's fast. That dude got great footwork. I think that kid is going to be special. I am so excited about that kid, actually. So I'm going to have to get that award to Donovan Peoples-Jones, because I see some things. There's just some things that athletes do that makes you go like, oh, okay. I mean, there's 2 players that did that. There's a couple players that did it this year for me. Joe Burrow is one of them. Donovan Peoples-Jones did. It was another one. But I wasn't expecting I was expecting from Joe Burrow. I was expecting to have those moments like, oh wow, that's pretty cool from Joe Burrow. But not Jesse Bates. Donovan Peoples-Jones, man, he made some plays that just made me go like, man, that was excellent.
Yeah.
So yeah, I gotta go Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Yep. I'll agree with you on that one. Donovan Peoples-Jones was actually a guy I really liked in the draft. I wanted the Bengals to go pick him up in one of the later rounds. It didn't end up happening. We ended up doing the opposite of what I really wanted us to do, which was address. I wanted us to address offensive line early and wide receiver late, and we did the opposite. We addressed wide receiver early and offensive line late, and look how that worked out. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm happy to have T. Higgins, but at the same time, like, would I rather have T. Higgins or an intact Joe Burrow? I think I'd rather have an intact Joe Burrow. Yeah, he's just not like Donovan Peoples-Jones. He reminds me a lot of AJ Green, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the kind of receiver who just, he's got size, he's got hands, he's got ball skills, he's got athleticism. He's got everything that you could possibly want. And I think if Michigan had possibly more than basically nothing at quarterback during his entire time there, then I think he would have been more highly thought of in the draft. But unfortunately, Michigan's quarterback situation was just awful. And I think the Browns really got a steal with Donovan Peoples-Jones. I really do think they did. And I'm not saying Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to be as good as A.J. Green was when A.J. Green was at his best, but the play style really reminds me. Like, that would be my comp.
Yeah, no, I think Donovan Peoples-Jones' ceiling is very high. I think he's fast. The footwork's great. If you go back and put that touchdown when he caught that touchdown in the end zone against the Bengals, like that catch, the difficulty of that catch, the throw was amazing. The throw was perfect, but the catch had to be perfect too, because he had to keep his feet in the end zone, and he did a great job keeping his feet in the end zone. That was, man, that kid. Right. Man, I think that kid's gonna be great. I can't wait to see him next year. I can't wait to see what he's gonna do this offseason. Now he got an offseason with Baker. Baker's gonna wanna, because he's gonna be cheaper than Odell.
Yep.
Odell got another year on a kind. Just because we won't be able to keep. Because the Browns want to make some decisions coming soon, and some of these young players might not be. Some of these young players got to step up. Like I don't think long term. I think like the tight end rooms, for example. I think David Njoku is going to probably be the odd man out in 2 years. I think that Odell Beckham is going to be the odd man out in the receiver room. So, with that said, you got to make sure that you have solid receivers that could, maybe, you're not going to find a receiver as good as Odell. It's going to be really hard to find somebody as good as Odell, but somebody that could possibly match Odell's productivity. I think that Donovan Peoples-Jones, he's going to be a future 1,000-yard receiver. I don't think that's too far out of the question. I think that he would do that. I don't think that Higgins has that capability. I think Higgins is a solid number 3 receiver, number 2 or 3 receiver. I think Higgins probably going to give you about 500, 600 yards a year. I think he might have a big game here and there. I think he might be a good touchdown target for Baker Mayfield. He glues the offense together. He keeps the defense honest. But Donovan Peoples-Jones have a higher ceiling than Higgins does, a way higher ceiling. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones have special talent. I think that he could make a special impact to the game. And I think that when he gets some rhythm, kind of like Metcalf, it takes these receivers a year or two to really get in rhythm. But that second year is when receivers usually go off. Unless you're like Randy Moss or Odell Beckham,
right?
Calvin Johnson. A lot of these receivers are first year; they don't really go off the first year. So I think a lot of these, him and T. Higgins. I think him and T. Higgins will have a great year next year. And Claypool, unfortunately, fuck that guy, man.
So I think for the Bengals, I don't think it should become as too much of a surprise that the offensive rookie of the year is going to be Joe Burrow.
Mhm.
Now, like I said earlier, I didn't want to give him offensive MVP because I felt like he I feel like again I don't want to blame the guy for getting hurt. I don't want to like talk trash about the guy because he's got hurt. But because he got hurt, I don't think that he was able to really take the mantle as the guy who was just really the most important player on the offense all year, and especially because they did fine without him. Well, they didn't do fine without him, but they did as well without him as they did with him. So again, that's not necessarily Joe Burrow's fault, but if anything, it shows you that the Bengals were not treating him like a most valuable player. However, he definitely was the most impressive rookie on the offense all year. So I mean, like other rookies, who do we have? We had T. Higgins, who already gave one award. You had Akeem Adeniji, who he played pretty well in relief at times, but it wasn't anywhere close to the impact that you got from Joe Burrow.
Sample's not a rookie.
Do what?
Is Sample's a rookie?
No, Sample's not a rookie. He was a rookie last year.
Yeah, I know he was young.
Yeah,
by the way, I really want to give Samples a shout out. I think we gotta give Samples.
Yeah, so Joe Burrow this year threw for about 2,600 yards in 10 total games.
Wow.
Which is that's a thing, right? But I mean, he was on pace for 4,300 yards in his rookie season.
Wow.
His rookie season. Yeah, he had 13 touchdowns. He had 13 touchdowns. So he was on pace for 20 touchdowns in his rookie year. Now, I mean, that's not like 20 touchdowns isn't like the most insane number you've ever heard of, but for, like I said, for 2,000 yards passing and 20 touchdowns in your rookie season, that's pretty damn good. I'm actually curious, what were Justin Herbert's stats?
Justin Herbert had 31 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. I said yesterday.
Did he really? 31 touchdowns. Jesus.
Yeah, Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Cold,
okay,
dude.
So Justin Herbert ended up. Wow. Yeah. No wonder he ended up rookie of the year because wow, 31 touchdowns. That's pretty good. And even with those 31 touchdowns, I said Joe Burrow was on pace for 4,300 yards. Well, guess how many yards Justin Herbert had?
4,300.
About 4,300. So basically, what I'm saying is Justin Herbert probably still would have won Rookie of the Year because he would have thrown for more touchdowns than Joe Burrow was on pace for. However, if Joe Burrow had stepped up the touchdown game a little bit, then
I think
this would have been a neck and neck like photo finish kind of race for Rookie of the Year.
They kind of the NFL, the Bengals kind of robbed us of a good the Bengals really robbed us of a good Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, robbed you.
I look, man. I think I said it probably the week before he got hurt that Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow is going to be fun watching them go down to the end. He's like, yeah, I think Joe Burrow is better than Justin Herbert, respectfully. And I mean, like we didn't think that Justin Herbert was going to just take off the way he did. He had a great start of the season, but man, dude, Joe Burrow though. I mean, he did break some rookie records. He did have the most passing yards in the game by a rookie, man. That was that game. It was that game. It was that game between him and Baker Mayfield, man. That game, I'm telling y'all, that game is people going to rewatch that game for years. That game was so good. That's the best football game I've ever been in my life, man.
That was really impressive. And when he comes back, and it sounded like he's going to be ready for week 1. It sounded like he's definitely going to be ready for week 1, so we're not going to miss any Joe Burrow action next year. But when he comes back, I'm telling you right now, the NFL's on notice. Pay attention because Joe Burrow is about to come out with a chip, more of a chip than he had before. And that guy had a chip. Like, he definitely knew how to motivate himself.
I think what we're gonna see, I think we're gonna see there's been this whole clamor for quarterbacks that could run. Maybe I'm old fashioned. I like my quarterback to be able to make all the passes consistently. That's not a shot at Lamar Jackson. I'm sorry. That's not. I don't want to feel like I'm taking a shot at Lamar Jackson, but I mean, it kind of is in a way. I think that having a quarterback that's not as much of a runner as say Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray is always great because they're more consistent in one end. They're more dimension. They're actually, you might think that the running quarterback's more dimensional, but as we've seen, for some reason, Lamar Jackson seemed more one-dimensional than a lot of the throwing quarterbacks because you felt like your offense was more limited because you had a thrower, not a pitcher. And Joe Burrow, he gets the flow. He gets how to keep people organized. He gets how to throw precisely at the right time. He knows how to spread out the defense. He knows how to keep the defense honest. He knows how to there's so many good things that Joe Burrow does. And maybe I'm old-fashioned. I like these quarterbacks who can sit in the pocket and can control the game with their arm. Now, I'm not saying that because Joe Burrow does have some athleticism to him. That's one of the things that makes him so deadly is he's surprisingly athletic. But he is a great passer. He has a very fast release. He's always precise. He's always accurate. He got a very solid arm. Dude, my God. Joe Burrow's going to be, oh my God. And how old is he? 24? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. He's going to be something special. But let's go ahead and move on to the final award that we got to give out. So who is the Browns defensive rookie of the year?
That's tough. Man, I had this. I was thinking, I thought about it. And then, man, it should be Delpit. But you can't say Delpit because he tore his Achilles. Come back on me this one because I'm gonna think about this one.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and talk about the Bengals defensive rookie of the year. Then it's it's probably pretty obvious because there's not really anybody else. The list of Bengals draft picks on defense, they put much heavier emphasis on offense this year. But you had Logan Wilson in the 3rd round, Akeem Davis-Gaither in the 4th round, Khalid Kareem in the 5th round, and Marcus Bailey in the 7th round. And out of those guys, Logan Wilson, the highest drafted defensive player, was also the most effective one. He was just, definitely I wouldn't say like unbelievable by any means. I mean, I've definitely seen better rookie campaigns, but for a position that's losing as much, emphasis, I guess, focus. Like the Bengals don't seem to focus so much on linebacker these days, and despite that, he managed to come in. He was one of the he was consistently one of the more impactful players on defense that I've seen from the Bengals this year. He only started 2 games, but he did get in for 12 games. And in those only 2 starts, he managed to get 2 interceptions, defensed 3 passes. He recorded a sack, and he got 33 tackles. He hit the quarterback 2 times. And this is an inside linebacker. He's not an edge rusher. He's really more of a from what I've seen, he seems to be best fit as a as kind of like a kind of do it all inside linebacker. But one reason why I really liked him in the draft is because I thought that he'd be pretty decent at covering the middle of the field. and that's something that the Bengals have just been absolutely trash at for years. Is any sort of zone coverage that you get from the linebackers, and Logan Wilson did that fairly decently this year. I mean, again, I wouldn't say like go put Logan Wilson in the Hall of Fame because of his rookie year. I mean, no, he was okay. He wasn't that great, but he was exactly what the Bengals need, I think, to put together a solid linebacker unit, which they just haven't had in a long time. And it's because they haven't put a lot of focus on it. Well, they put focus on it this year, and it seems to be paying off because Logan Wilson, I think, was definitely a direct hit in the third round.
So I, for one, I don't have a lot to say about Logan Wilson because I don't really know much about him. Thanks for the information on Logan Wilson. Kyle, appreciate that. Now I could keep an eye on him next year when he's chasing after Baker Mayfield. Possibly get a quarterback hit or two next year. So I'm looking at this for Browns rookies, and I was thinking Jordan Elliott at first. He's the third round pick. But I got they also took Jacob Phillips in third round as well. And I think you gotta give it to Jacob Phillips over Jordan Elliott, because Jacob Phillips was the linebacker taken out of LSU this year. Jacob Phillips had he's a linebacker. He had his best game was 8 solo tackles, 2 assist tackles against the Steelers, but he also had a tackle for a loss. Now, by the way, let me say this: the Browns haven't had a lot of rookie impact defensive players. That's why this question was so hard for me, because we haven't the rookies that we had on defense the last 2 years. They haven't really had good luck with the injury bug. So that's why it's just a hard question. Like, how I want to pick a player when none of our players are on the field. But Jacob Phillips, one thing with Jacob Phillips that he did well is that he was just consistently on the field. Like, he consistently made plays. He was just consistently there. And I know that's a low bar to set, but we haven't had a good defensive player drafted to this team since Denzel Ward. So, like, I'm not really too proud of our defensive players right now. We went very heavy offense this last draft, offensive line and stuff. So, and I get that Grant Delpit is hurt and he had a torn Achilles injury. And I do think he's going to be phenomenal when he finally able to play. But, where can you go in this one? There's not really that many. The Browns haven't all their playmakers on defense. None of them were rookies. So, if I had to get at anybody, you just have to go to Jacob Phillips by default for just being consistent. He's just a consistent player. There's a difference for being a consistent player and a solid rotational player. That's what he is. He's very solid. Now, he might turn something great. I'm not saying that his career plateaued. I'm saying you did a great job to stay on the field. And that's the bar right now. Welcome to the Browns. The bar is always low.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Jacob Phillips was definitely a guy who I was looking at I was thinking maybe the Bengals can pick him up in the draft. I mean, I was thinking 4th round, and the Browns snatched him up like right before. Like that, it was actually it was a what was that, like a, what do they call that? Like when you get a draft pick because a free agent left. What do they call that again? Supplemental.
Complimentary, yeah, something like that.
Complimentary.
Yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, that was the beginning of the complimentary whatever section of the NFL draft. And so had the draft finished, had the third round finished when it was supposed to, then Jacob Phillips would have been on the board for the Bengals to take. We ended up taking Akeem Davis-Gaither, also a linebacker. However, we probably weren't looking at Jacob Phillips anymore because we took Logan Wilson, who's an inside linebacker like Jacob Phillips, at the top of the third round.
Yeah.
And I wasn't so much thinking Logan Wilson outside of in the draft, because I wasn't thinking of Logan Wilson as a third round talent. Now, granted, I will say for what we got, for what Logan Wilson turned out to be, he was absolutely worth the number 65 overall pick. That was a great pick that we made. But at the time, I was thinking like, who the hell is Logan Wilson? Or well, I knew who Logan Wilson was, but I was like, why the hell did we just take this guy at the top of the third round? That seems like a reach to me. But he ended up being pretty good. I was thinking Jacob Phillips, but I would say that I think Logan Wilson, from what I've seen so far, I think that Jacob Phillips and Logan Wilson are both good. I think both teams have to be happy with who they got.
Oh yeah, I ain't saying he's a bad player.
But I think that Logan Wilson is better than Jacob Phillips, so he was definitely worth the higher draft pick.
Oh, he had a great game against the Steelers, by the way. Jacob Phillips had a great game against the Steelers that last week. So and a great playoff game for that. A great 2 playoff games.
I remember that.
I mean, he actually. In fact, I believe there's a play that he made against Kansas City that I really like. Anyway, I mean, like, I think he's gonna be solid. I think that he's a solid pickup. I mean, like, we didn't draft that many defensive players last year anyway, so it's not like we had enough room. I mean, Andrew Jehu, you ain't getting no awards for being the goofiest person in the locker room. So,
all right. So, I think that's probably going to do it for this episode of the Battle of Ohio podcast. We had some pretty good awards, I think, given out there. I think all of them pretty fair. I think I definitely agree with Donovan Peoples-Jones. As far as awards that you gave out, I think he, unfortunately, like I said with Kevin Stefanski, Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to be one of those guys who I don't want to have to deal with over the next couple of years, but I'm going to have to. And I'm sure Browns fans will enjoy having him on the team. Yeah, like I said, that's it for today's episode, guys. Thanks for listening. Thomas is going to go rewire his house for internet, so hopefully we don't have any more of these pinging issues. Well, like I said, thanks for listening, everybody. You can find me more of what I do, more of me just talking about sports and having fun and shooting the shit and whatever. At Kyle Phelps 92 on Twitter and Facebook.com/thephelps. You can find Thomas at T_Stein94 on Twitter and Instagram, and he's got a YouTube page called Blowdown Page where there's like comedy videos and you've been doing like a Black History Month thing lately. Is that only on TikTok, or are you doing that on YouTube as well?
I put it everywhere. It everywhere.
So yeah, he's got some interesting content there. I definitely recommend you guys go check that out. But anyway, that is pretty much it. So I'll leave y'all with a hooday.
Go Browns.
No.